The transport ship hummed quietly as it moved through space. Inside, Hana sat by a small window, watching stars drift past. She was 19 years old and on her way home from a semester abroad at a colony university. Her bag rested at her feet, filled with books about alien biology and notes from her classes. She had spent the last 6 months learning about the different species in the galaxy. It was fascinating work. She loved it. Hana was small, just 5 feet and 3 inches tall. She had dark hair tied back in a simple ponytail. Her clothes were plain, a gray shirt and comfortable pants. Nothing about her looked special. She looked like any other young student traveling home. That was exactly what the raiders thought when they attacked the ship. The alarm started screaming without warning. Red lights flashed throughout the cabin. Hana jumped to her feet as the ship shook violently. Other passengers were yelling, running toward the emergency pods. The ship's captain came over the speaker system, his voice tight with fear. Pirates. They were being boarded. Hana ran with the others, but she was not fast enough. The ship lurched sideways and she fell hard against the wall. Her head struck metal and everything went dark. When she woke up, she was somewhere else. The air smelled wrong, thick and metallic. Her head throbbed with pain. She tried to move, but her body felt heavy. Slowly, her eyes adjusted to the darkness. She was in a cage. Bars made of some kind of dark metal surrounded her on all sides. The cage was small, barely large enough to sit up in. She was not alone. Other cages lined the walls of the large room, stacked on top of each other like boxes in a warehouse. Inside each cage was a creature, aliens of different species all looking terrified. Some were crying. Others sat silent and still. Hana counted at least 30 cages. 30 prisoners. Heavy footsteps echoed through the room. Hana pressed herself against the back of her cage as a massive figure appeared. It was a Veltran, one of the raider species she had studied in class. The creature stood over 8 feet tall, with thick reptilian skin covered in dark green scales. Its eyes were yellow and cold. It walked past the cages, looking at each prisoner like they were merchandise. The Veltran stopped in front of Hana's cage. It leaned down, staring at her with those dead yellow eyes. Then it laughed. The sound was deep and cruel. "This one is worthless," the Veltran said to another raider standing nearby. "Too small, no claws, no armor. Weak." It tapped the bars of her cage with one massive claw. "Maybe it will last one fight before it dies. The crowd will find it funny." The other raider, smaller but just as ugly, nodded. "Captain Thruck says we take them all to Corvin Prime. The arena there pays well for live meat." Hana said nothing. She stayed quiet and still. Her heart was pounding, but she kept her face calm. Inside, her mind was racing. Arena, fighting. They were taking her to some kind of gladiator pit. She had heard rumors about such places in the Outer Rim territories. Lawless worlds where criminals ran blood sports for profit. Hours passed. The ship continued its journey. Hana sat in her cage thinking. She noticed another human in a cage across from hers. A man older than her, maybe in his 40s. He had scars on his face and arms. He looked like he had been in fights before. Their eyes met. The man gave her a small nod. When the guards were not looking, he whispered across to her, "You are human." "Yes," Hana whispered back. "My name is Jiho. I was a security officer on a colony before they took me." His voice was quiet but steady. "These aliens do not know what humans are. They think we are weak." Hana looked at the Veltran guards walking past. "We are smaller than them." Jiho smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Size does not matter. Not for us." "Where are you from?" "Earth," she said. "Sol District. I was studying xenobiology." "Do you have any training?" Jiho asked. "Combat training?" Hana hesitated. "I have a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. 3rd degree. I trained since I was 6 years old." Jiho's eyes widened slightly. "That is good, very good. You might survive." Before Hana could respond, a guard slammed his weapon against the cages. "Silence," he roared. "No talking, or I will take your food rations." They both fell silent, but Hana felt something shift inside her. Jiho's words had sparked something. She looked down at her hands. They were small hands, delicate-looking, but she knew what they could do. Years of training had made them strong. She knew how joints worked, how bones broke, how to use an opponent's weight against them. The Veltrans thought she was weak. That was their mistake. More time passed. Hana lost track of how long, hours or maybe days. They fed the prisoners once, throwing chunks of some kind of processed food through the cage bars. It tasted terrible, but Hana ate it anyway. She needed her strength. Eventually, the ship landed. Hana felt the jolt as they touched ground. The guards started moving through the room, opening cages and dragging prisoners out. They put metal collars around everyone's necks. When they came to Hana, one guard grabbed her roughly by the arm and pulled her out of the cage. She stumbled but stayed on her feet. They were herded through corridors and onto a transport vehicle. Through the windows, Hana could see where they were. The surface of an asteroid, carved out and built into a massive structure. Buildings rose up like metal mountains. In the center was a huge circular building, the arena. It was enormous, bigger than any stadium she had ever seen on Earth. The transport stopped at a loading dock. More guards appeared, these ones wearing different uniforms. They were not Veltrans, but other species, all of them large, all of them armed. Captain Throck spoke with one of them, exchanging data pads. Hana realized they were being sold, transferred from the raiders to whoever ran this place. The new guards moved them into another holding area. This one was cleaner, but just as cold. The prisoners were separated, sorted into different groups. Hana was pushed into a small room with bare walls and a single bench. The door sealed behind her with a hiss. She sat on the bench and waited. Her heart was still racing, but her breathing was controlled. She closed her eyes and thought about her training. Her instructor's voice echoed in her memory. Stay calm. Watch your opponent. Find the weakness. Every creature has one. A screen on the wall flickered to life. It showed the inside of the arena. The crowd was huge. Thousands of aliens of dozens of different species, all cheering and shouting. In the center was a fighting pit, circular and wide, with sand covering the floor. Blood stained the sand in dark patches. An announcer's voice boomed through speakers. Hana did not understand all the words. It was in a language she had only studied briefly, but she understood enough. They were introducing the fighters, showing odds, taking bets. Then the screen switched to a live feed of her. The crowd erupted in laughter. The announcer said something and the laughter grew louder. Hana saw the betting odds appear on the screen, 500 to 1 against her. She stared at her own image on the screen. She looked so small compared to the aliens around her. She understood why they were laughing. To them, she was a joke, a weak little thing that would die quickly for their entertainment. The door behind her opened. A guard stood there, gesturing with his weapon. Move, your turn. Hana stood up. She rolled her shoulders, loosening the muscles. She took a deep breath. Then she walked forward, following the guard down a dark tunnel toward the light of the arena. The crowd's roar grew louder with each step. The sound washed over her like a wave. But Hana's mind was clear. She stepped out into the arena, and the bright lights hit her eyes. The crowd saw her and laughed again. Across the pit, another gate opened. Something massive stepped out. It was a Krell warrior, 7 feet of insect-like alien with 4 powerful limbs and mandibles that clicked together like knives. The creature had killed before. Hana could see it in the way it moved, confident and deadly. The announcer said something. A buzzer sounded. The fight had begun. The Krell charged. Hana did not run. She stood her ground, watching it come. At the last possible second, she moved. The Krell warrior charged across the arena floor like a freight train. Its 4 legs moved in perfect rhythm, each step shaking the sand beneath it. The mandibles around its mouth clicked together rapidly, a sound that made the crowd cheer louder. This creature was a champion. It had killed 12 opponents before this moment. The betting screen showed its record in glowing numbers. Hana watched it come. Her mind was calm, processing everything. She saw how it moved, how its weight shifted with each step. She noticed the joints in its legs, the way its mandibles opened and closed. Every detail mattered. At the last second, she moved. Not backward, sideways. The Krell's momentum carried it past her, its claws slicing through empty air where she had been standing. The creature skidded in the sand, trying to turn around. But Hana was already moving. She grabbed one of its rear legs with both hands. The Krell tried to shake her off, but her grip was solid. Years of training had taught her how to hold on. She twisted her body and used the creature's own weight against it. The Krell crashed to the ground hard, sand spraying everywhere. Before it could recover, Hana was on its back. Her arm wrapped around what passed for its neck, just behind the head where the exoskeleton was thinner. She locked the chokehold in place, squeezing with all her strength. The Krell thrashed wildly, trying to throw her off. Its claws dug into the sand. Its mandibles snapped at air. 30 seconds passed. The creature's movements became weaker. 15 more seconds. It stopped moving entirely. Hana held the position for another 10 seconds to be sure, then released her grip. She stood up slowly, breathing hard but controlled. The arena was completely silent. Thousands of aliens stared down at the impossible scene before them. The small human stood over the dead Krell champion. 4 minutes had passed since the fight began. Then the silence broke. The crowd erupted, but not with cheers. With confusion and anger. Bets had been lost. Money had changed hands in ways that should not have been possible. The arena's operators were furious. High above in the control room, Overlord Kavik slammed his fist on the console. He was a massive alien with gray skin and too many eyes. He ran this entire operation, and someone had just cost him a fortune. "Send another fighter," he growled at his assistant. "Now." The gates opened again. A Thoraxian brute stomped into the arena. This one was even larger than the Krell, with thick armored plates covering its entire body. It carried no weapons because it did not need them. Its hide was strong enough to stop most blades. Hana watched it approach. She was tired now. The first fight had taken energy, but she could not show weakness. She stood straight, ready. The Thoraxian charged. Hana ran toward it, which surprised everyone watching. At the last moment, she dropped and slid under its massive body. As she passed beneath it, she struck upward with her fist, aiming for the underside where the armor was thinner. Her knuckles hit something soft. The creature roared in pain. She rolled to her feet behind it and jumped onto its back. The Thoraxian spun wildly, trying to shake her off. But Hana climbed higher, finding handholds in the gaps between armor plates. She reached its head and saw what she needed, an eye socket unprotected. She drove her fingers into the socket with all her strength. The Thoraxian screamed and fell forward, crashing into the arena wall. Hana jumped clear before it collapsed completely. She landed in the sand, breathing harder now. 2 down. The crowd was no longer laughing. Some were starting to leave. Others watched in horrified fascination. The betting screens showed confusion. Odds were being recalculated frantically. 2 more gates opened simultaneously. Twin Rixian hunters emerged, moving in perfect coordination. These were pack predators with sleek bodies built for speed. Their claws dripped with paralytic venom. They split up, circling Hana from different directions. Hana turned slowly, keeping both of them in her vision. She knew this tactic. Attack from multiple angles. Divide her attention. She needed to change the situation. The first Rixian lunged. Hana stepped into its attack instead of away, getting inside its reach before the claws could strike. She grabbed its foreleg and twisted hard. Bone snapped. The creature shrieked. She followed through with an elbow strike to its spine, and it dropped like a stone. The second Rixian was already attacking. Its claws raked across her shoulder, tearing through her shirt and drawing blood. Pain flared hot and immediate. Hana felt the venom trying to work its way into her system, but her body fought it. Earth biology was different. The venom was strong, but not strong enough. She grabbed the dead Rixian's body and used it as a shield. The second hunter's next strike hit its dead packmate instead. In that moment of confusion, Hana dropped the corpse and moved in close. Her hands found the hunter's neck, and she twisted sharply. The snap echoed through the arena, 4 opponents dead. Blood ran down Hana's arm from the scratch, but she ignored it. She stood in the center of the arena, surrounded by bodies. The sand beneath her feet was dark with alien blood. In the control room, Kavik's advisors were pulling up data frantically. "What species is that?" he demanded. "Human," one advisor said nervously. "From Earth. Class 9 Deathworld." Kavik's multiple eyes widened. "Send the Skarn." The enhanced one, the largest gate opened. The Skarn that emerged was a nightmare of flesh and machine. Half its body had been replaced with cybernetic enhancements. Energy blades extended from its forearms, glowing blue in the arena lights. It moved with unnatural speed, servos whirring with each step. Hana was tired now. She could feel it in her muscles. But she pushed the fatigue aside. This opponent was different, faster, deadlier. She needed to think. The Skarn attacked with incredible speed. Its blades cut through the air in precise patterns. Hana dodged the first strike, then the second. The third caught her across the ribs, and she felt the energy burn through fabric and skin. She gritted her teeth against the pain and kept moving. She studied it as they fought. The blades were dangerous, but they were predictable. The machine parts moved in patterns, but where flesh met metal, there were seams. Weak points. The Skarn lunged forward with both blades. Hana dropped flat to the ground and the blades passed over her head. She rolled between its legs and came up behind it. Before it could turn, she grabbed the cybernetic arm at the shoulder joint where metal connected to flesh. She pulled with all her remaining strength. The connection was strong but not perfect. Wires and tubes tore free. Sparks flew. The Skarn screamed, half in pain and half in machine noise. She reached into the exposed machinery and grabbed the main power coupling. It burned her hand, but she held on and yanked it free. The energy blades flickered and died. The Skarn's enhanced limbs went limp. The creature collapsed to its knees and then fell forward into the sand. Hana stood over it, her burned hand throbbing with pain. Her shoulder bled. Her ribs ached from the energy blade cut. But she was alive. She was standing. 5 opponents. 1 hour had passed. The gates opened again. And again. And again. 3 more fighters emerged together. Creatures Hana had never seen before. The arena operators had stopped following rules. They just wanted her dead. Hana looked at them all. She was exhausted. Every muscle screamed at her to stop. But stopping meant dying. She had not come this far to die in some criminal arena on a forgotten asteroid. She bent down and picked up one of the Skarn's energy blades. The weapon was heavy, but it still worked. She held it in her good hand and faced the 3 new opponents. "Come on then," she said quietly. They came. The first creature was fast, but careless. Hana's blade cut through its armor like it was paper. It fell without a sound. The second tried to use its size advantage, charging like the Thoraxian had. She stepped aside and brought the blade down on its neck. 8. The third creature was smarter. It kept its distance, watching her. Hana could see it thinking, planning, but it was too slow. She feinted left, then moved right. The blade found its mark. The creature dropped. 8 opponents dead in 1 hour. Hana stood alone in the center of the arena, surrounded by corpses. The energy blade hummed in her hand. Blood covered her clothes, most of it not hers. She looked up at the crowd. Most of the seats were empty now. The few who remained stared in absolute silence. The announcer's voice came over the speakers, but it was shaking now. "This is not possible," the voice said. "This is not possible, but it was possible, because Hana was still standing." And Hour 2 was about to begin. In the control room high above the arena, chaos had replaced order. Overlord Kavik paced back and forth, his multiple eyes fixed on the screens showing the carnage below. His advisors huddled around computers, pulling up every piece of data they could find on humans and Earth. The reports were terrifying. Earth was classified as a Class 9 death world, one of the most hostile planets in known space. Humans had evolved as persistence predators, capable of hunting prey to exhaustion over days. Their bone density was higher than most species. Their pain tolerance was extreme. Their ability to heal from injuries was remarkable, and they had something called an adrenaline response that turned them into berserkers when threatened. "How many fighters do we have left?" Kavik demanded. His assistant checked the roster. 12, Overlord. But after what they just watched, many are refusing to fight. They say that creature down there is death itself. Kavik slammed his fist on the control panel again. "I do not care what they think. Send them all at once if you have to. That human has cost me millions in lost bets. I want it dead." "But sir," the assistant said nervously, "the broadcast has gone viral. Systems across the Outer Rim are watching this. If we break too many arena protocols, the Galactic Consortium might investigate." Kavik stopped pacing. The broadcast. He had forgotten about that. Their operation was illegal enough without drawing official attention. He thought for a moment, then made a decision. Drop weapons into the arena. Give the next fighters every advantage. Make it look fair. Then we end this. Down in the arena, Hana leaned against the wall, catching her breath. Her entire body ached. The cut on her shoulder had stopped bleeding, but it still hurt. Her ribs felt bruised from the Skarn's energy blade. Her burned hand throbbed with each heartbeat. She was running on pure determination now. She heard a mechanical sound above her. Looking up, she saw panels in the ceiling sliding open. Objects fell from the openings, landing in the sand around the arena. Weapons, energy shields, pulse rifles, equipment that had not been there before. Hana walked slowly to the nearest weapon, a plasma blade, different from the one she had taken from the Skarn. This one was lighter, better balanced. She picked it up and tested its weight. It would do. A gate opened. A Draken berserker charged out. already carrying one of the energy shields. This creature was built like a tank, with muscles that rippled under thick gray skin. It roared as it ran toward her. Hana did not run. She waited until it was close, then moved. The plasma blade cut through the energy shield like it was not even there. The Draken's eyes went wide with surprise for just a second before the blade found its throat. It fell forward, dead before it hit the ground. 9. Another gate opened. A Vrix assassin emerged, already cloaked in stealth technology. It shimmered and disappeared from sight, nearly invisible. The crowd that remained gasped. This was one of the deadliest fighters in the arena's roster. Hana closed her eyes and listened. Human hearing was better than most people realized. She heard the faint hum of the cloaking device, the soft sound of footsteps in sand. She tracked the sound as it circled her. The assassin attacked from behind. But Hana had already moved. She spun and threw the plasma blade in one smooth motion. The weapon flew through the air and struck something invisible. The cloaking device sparked and failed. The Vrix assassin appeared, the blade buried in its chest. It fell without making a sound. 10. 2 more gates opened together. Heavily armored shock troopers emerged, moving in formation. They carried pulse rifles and wore full combat gear. These were not arena fighters, these were soldiers. Kavik had sent his own security forces. Hana retrieved her blade from the dead assassin and grabbed one of the energy shields from the sand. The shock troopers opened fire. Plasma bolts hit the shield, and Hana felt the impacts through her arms. She kept moving, using the shield to deflect their shots. She ran toward the arena wall and used it as cover. The troopers followed, still firing. When they got close, Hana dropped the shield and jumped. She kicked off the wall, flipping over their heads. They tried to turn and track her, but they were too slow in their heavy armor. She landed behind them. Her blade found the gap in the first trooper's armor at the knee joint. He went down. The second trooper spun around, but his rifle was too long for close combat. Hana grabbed the barrel and yanked him forward. Her blade pierced the exposed joint at his neck. Both troopers lay still. 12 opponents dead. 2 hours had passed since she first entered the arena. Hana stood in the center of the arena, surrounded by bodies and weapons scattered in the sand. She was covered in blood and dirt. Her clothes were torn. But she was still standing. The remaining crowd was silent. Many seats were empty now. Those who stayed watched not with excitement but with fear. This was no longer entertainment. This was a nightmare they could not look away from. In the control room, Kavik stared at the screens. His hands were shaking. "This cannot be happening," he whispered. His assistant cleared his throat. "Sir, the guards at the arena entrance are refusing orders." "What?" "The guards. The elite squad. We sent them orders to enter the arena and subdue the human. They are refusing." Kavik pulled up the camera feed from the arena entrance. 12 guards stood there in full combat gear, armed with shock batons and stun nets. They were the best fighters he had. Trained soldiers who had put down riots and captured dangerous criminals. They stood at attention, but none of them were moving toward the arena door. Their commander, a veteran named Torvik, stood at the front. His face was visible on the screen. He looked pale. Kavik activated the communication system. "Commander Torvik, I gave you an order. Enter the arena and bring that human to me. Dead or alive, I do not care which." Torvik looked up at the camera. His voice was steady, but there was fear in it. "With respect, Overlord," Kavik's eyes narrowed. "You dare refuse my orders?" Torvik gestured at the arena beyond the door. "I have been a soldier for 20 years. I have fought in 3 wars and countless battles. I know a superior predator when I see one. That thing in there killed 12 trained fighters in 2 hours. Killed them with injuries that would have stopped anyone else. Killed them while tired, wounded, and unarmed at the start." He paused, then continued. "I am not sending my squad in there to die. And if you are smart, you will stop sending anyone else either." The other guards nodded in agreement. One of them spoke up. "We saw what it did to the Skarn. That was a military-grade combat cyborg, and she tore it apart with her bare hands. We are not going in there." Kavik stared at the screen in disbelief. His own guards, his elite forces, were refusing orders because of one small human female who should have died in the first 30 seconds of her first fight. "Fine," he said quietly. "Then we use the failsafe." His advisors turned to look at him. "Sir, are you certain? The Dravok is not meant for arena combat. It was created for war." "I do not care what it was meant for," Kavik said. "Release it." Deep beneath the arena, in a reinforced cage that required 3 separate security codes to open, Something stirred. The Dravok was the result of years of illegal genetic engineering. Scientists had combined DNA from the deadliest predators across a dozen worlds. The result was a creature that should not exist, 12 feet of muscle, claws, and rage. Its blood was acidic. Its wounds healed in minutes. It had been designed to be the perfect killer. The cage doors opened. The Dravok roared, a sound that shook the entire complex. The guards in the holding area ran. They had seen this creature fed before. They knew what it could do. In the arena, Hana heard the roar. She felt it in her chest like a physical force. She turned to face the main gate as it slowly opened. Whatever was coming through that door, it was unlike anything she had faced before. The Dravok emerged into the light. The remaining crowd gasped. Some screamed. The creature was massive, built like a nightmare given flesh. Its scales were black and red. Its claws were as long as knives. Its eyes glowed yellow in the arena lights. It looked at Hana and roared again. Then it charged. For the first time since entering the arena, Hana took a step backward. This was different. This was truly dangerous. She gripped her plasma blade tighter and set her feet. There was nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. There was only the fight. The Dravok moved with terrifying speed for something so large. Its claws left deep gouges in the arena floor as it ran. Hana barely had time to react before it was on her. She rolled to the side just as its massive claw slammed down where she had been standing. The impact sent sand spraying in all directions. She came up swinging with the plasma blade. The weapon cut deep into the creature's leg. The Dravok roared, more in anger than pain. Hana jumped back, watching. The wound she had just made was already closing. The flesh knitted itself back together in seconds. Regeneration. This thing could heal almost instantly. That changed everything. The Dravok attacked again, this time with both claws. Hana ducked under the first strike and blocked the second with her blade. The force of the impact sent her sliding backward across the sand. Her arms felt numb from the shock. She could not win a direct fight. The creature was too strong, too fast, and it healed too quickly. She needed a different strategy. Her eyes scanned the arena, looking for anything she could use. The walls. The weapon debris scattered around. The power conduits that fed energy to the force fields containing the crowd. The power conduits. That might work. The Dravok charged again. Hana ran. Not away, but toward the arena wall where she had seen the conduits. The creature followed, roaring with each step. She could hear its claws getting closer. At the last second, she dove aside. The Dravok could not stop its momentum in time. It crashed into the wall right next to the exposed conduit. But it was not enough. The creature turned, shaking its head completely unharmed. Hana cursed under her breath. She needed to make it hit the conduit directly. She ran along the wall, keeping just out of reach. The Dravok followed, swiping at her with its massive claws. Each miss brought it closer to the conduits. Hana counted the exposed power lines. 3 of them, each carrying enough energy to power a city block. The Dravok lunged. Hana jumped straight up, grabbing onto a piece of jutting metal on the wall. The creature's claw struck the wall below her, missing by inches. She waited 1 heartbeat, 2 heartbeats, then dropped onto its back. The Dravok thrashed wildly, trying to throw her off. Its acidic blood dripped from small cuts, burning holes in the sand where it landed. Hana held on with one hand and stabbed down with her blade with the other, aiming for its eyes. The creature twisted its head away, and the blade scored a line across its face instead. It reared back and slammed its body against the wall. Hana barely managed to jump clear before being crushed. She hit the sand hard, the impact knocking the air from her lungs. The plasma blade flew from her hand, landing several feet away. The Dravok turned to face her, blood dripping from its face. The wound was already healing, but slower this time. It was using energy to regenerate. That meant it could be worn down, but Hana was running out of time. Her body was failing. Every muscle screamed. Every breath hurt. She scrambled to her feet and ran for the blade. The Dravok charged. Hana grabbed the weapon and spun, slashing at its front leg. The blade cut deep and the creature stumbled. She pressed the attack, cutting again and again at the same leg. Each wound healed, but not instantly. The regeneration was slowing. The Dravok adapted. It stopped charging recklessly and started hunting her like the predator it was designed to be. It circled slowly, cutting off her escape routes. Its eyes tracked her every movement. Hana realized with growing dread that this creature was intelligent. It was learning from the fight. She backed toward the power conduits again, but slower this time. The Dravok followed cautiously. Hana needed to make it attack, but it was being careful now. She was running out of options. Then she had an idea. A terrible, dangerous idea. But it might be her only chance. She dropped her plasma blade. The Dravok saw the weapon fall and hesitated, suspicious. But Hana turned her back and ran directly toward the power conduits. To the creature, it looked like she was trying to escape. That was exactly what Hana wanted it to think. The Dravok roared and charged. It was fast, so fast. Hana could hear it closing the distance. She ran straight at the exposed conduits. Then at the very last second she dove to the side and rolled. The Dravok could not stop. Its massive claw struck the largest power conduit dead center. The explosion was immediate and catastrophic. Electricity surged through the creature's body in brilliant arcs of blue and white light. The Dravok screamed, a sound that was part roar and part electronic shriek. Its regeneration system tried to heal the damage, but the electrical current was too much. The system overloaded. The creature collapsed to its knees, smoke rising from its body. Its movements became jerky and uncontrolled. The regeneration had stopped. Hana retrieved her plasma blade and walked toward the dying creature. It looked at her with those yellow eyes, and for a moment she almost felt sorry for it. This thing had not asked to be created. It had not chosen to be a weapon, but it was still trying to kill her. Its claw reached out weakly. Hana stepped aside and brought her blade down on the creature's skull. The Dravok shuddered once and was still. 13 opponents dead. The arena was completely silent now. No cheering. No announcements, nothing. The few aliens who remained in the audience sat frozen in their seats. They had just watched a 19-year-old human girl kill the most dangerous creature anyone had ever created. Hana stood over the Dravok's body, breathing hard. She looked up at the control room window where she knew Kavik was watching. She could not see him clearly through the reinforced glass, but she knew he was there. A speaker crackled to life. Kavik's voice came through, and it was shaking. "What are you?" Hana looked directly at the camera drone hovering above her. Her voice was calm, steady, almost conversational. "I am human," she said, "from Earth. And if you or anyone else ever takes one of us again, I will make sure you understand exactly what that means." She paused, then added, "We are not weak. We are not prey. We survived on a world that tried to kill us every single day for millions of years. Every predator, every disease, every disaster, we survived it all. And we did not just survive, we conquered it. We became the apex predator of a planet that breeds apex predators." The camera drone moved closer, broadcasting her words to millions of viewers across the outer rim. "So remember this moment," Hana continued. "Remember what you saw here today. One human, unarmed at first, injured, tired, and I killed 13 of your best fighters. 13. Now imagine what 100 humans could do. Or 1,000. Or 1,000,000. She dropped the plasma blade into the sand. Her message was delivered. Now she just wanted to go home. In the control room, Kavik sat down heavily in his chair. His hands were still shaking. Around him, his advisors were pulling up more data on humans, on Earth, on the Terran colonies spreading across the galaxy. The numbers were staggering. There were billions of humans. Billions of these creatures that evolved on a death world. One of the advisors spoke quietly. "Sir, we need to release her. Now, if Earth finds out we held one of their citizens in a combat arena, they will not send diplomats. They will send soldiers." Kavik nodded slowly. "Open the gates. Let her go." But it was already too late. The broadcast had gone viral across dozens of star systems. Word was spreading like wildfire. The footage was being analyzed by military strategists, xenobiologists, and government officials. Everyone wanted to know about these humans, these Deathworlders who looked so harmless but fought like demons. And somewhere in human-controlled space, a fleet was already being assembled. Commander Doyun of the Terran Defense Fleet had seen the broadcast. He recognized the young woman in the arena. Her name and student ID had been on the passenger manifest of the attacked transport. He knew exactly where she was. He gave the order. His fleet jumped to hyperspace, heading for Corvin Prime. They would be there in 6 hours, and they were bringing enough firepower to level the entire asteroid if necessary. Back in the arena, the main gates finally opened. Hana walked toward them slowly, limping slightly. She passed through without looking back at the carnage behind her. In the holding areas, she found Jiho and the other human captives. They stared at her in amazement. Jiho stepped forward. "Did you really do it?" Did you kill them all? Hana nodded tiredly. 13. Can we go home now? Jiho smiled. Yes, help is coming. I can feel it. Hana sat down on a bench, finally allowing herself to relax. Her body was covered in injuries, but she was alive. She had survived. And somehow she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Not for her, not for Earth, and not for the galaxy. The age of underestimating humanity was over. 6 hours after Hana's final words echoed through the arena, the Terran Defense Fleet arrived at Corvin Prime. 20 warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their weapon systems already powered up. Commander Do-yoon stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the asteroid growing larger on the view screen. Open a channel to the surface, he ordered. His communications officer worked quickly. Channel open, sir. Do-yoon's voice was cold and clear. This is Commander Do-yoon of the Terran Defense Fleet to all facilities on Corvin Prime. You are holding human citizens against their will. You have exactly 10 minutes to release them unharmed and surrender your leadership for arrest. If you refuse, we will consider it an act of war against Earth and her colonies. Your 10 minutes start now. On the surface, chaos erupted. The syndicates. Operations had already been collapsing since the arena broadcast went viral. Now, with a human fleet in orbit, panic set in completely. Guards deserted their posts. Administrators deleted files and ran for transport ships. The criminal empire that had seemed so powerful just hours ago was crumbling like sand. Overlord. Kavik sat alone in his office, staring at screens showing his empire falling apart. He had lived his entire life believing in strength and power. He had built an organization through fear and violence, but none of it mattered now. One human girl had destroyed everything. His assistant burst through the door. Sir, we have to leave. Now the Terrans will be landing within minutes. Kavik shook his head slowly. No, I am tired of running. Release the humans, all of them, and tell the Terrans I will surrender. The assistant stared at him in shock. But sir, do it, Kavik said quietly. It is over. Within the hour, Terran Marines had secured the facility. They found Hana and the other human captives in a guarded waiting area. The Marines burst through the door, weapons ready, expecting resistance. Instead, they found the guards had already fled. One Marine, a young woman named Yoonji, lowered her rifle when she saw Hana. She recognized her from the broadcasts that had been playing nonstop across every human communication channel. You are Hana? From the arena? Hana nodded. She was sitting on a bench, her wounds bandaged with makeshift materials. She looked exhausted but alert. Yoonji's squad leader stepped forward. Ma'am, we are here to take you home. Can you walk? Hana stood up slowly. Her body ached, but she managed a small smile. I can walk. I walked out of that arena, and I can walk to your ship. The Marines escorted all the human captives to the landing bay where transport ships waited. As they walked through the facility, Hana saw aliens pressing themselves against walls, staring at her with wide eyes. Some looked terrified. Others looked at her with something that might have been respect. News of the rescue spread across the galaxy faster than light. The footage from the arena was being analyzed by every major civilization. Military academies were showing it to students as an example of tactics and determination. Xenobiology departments were updating their entire understanding of human capabilities. Political leaders were reassessing their relationships with Earth. The Galactic Consortium called an emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to discuss what everyone was calling the Corvin incident. The debates went on for days, but the outcome was inevitable. Earth's classification was changed from Class 9 to Class 10, the highest possible Deathworld rating. New protocols were established. Any species that kidnapped, enslaved, or harmed a human would face immediate military response from Earth and sanctions from the consortium. More importantly, the incident changed how the galaxy viewed humanity. Before, humans had been seen as newcomers, interesting but not particularly important. Now, they were feared. The phrase "by hour 1, she slaughtered 8" became a warning repeated across 1,000 worlds. It meant, do not underestimate a human. Ever. 3 weeks later, Hana stepped off a transport ship onto Earth soil. Seoul spaceport was crowded with reporters, government officials, and curious citizens. Everyone wanted to see the girl from the arena. Cameras flashed. People shouted questions. Security tried to maintain order. Hana ignored all of it. She walked through the crowd, looking for one face. She found her mother waiting behind the security barrier, tears streaming down her face. They embraced without words, holding each other tight. In the days that followed, Hana received countless offers. Military recruiters wanted her to train soldiers. Private security companies offered millions for her services. Media companies wanted to make movies about her story. Politicians wanted her to speak at rallies. She declined everything. Instead, she went back to university. She walked into her xenobiology classroom 3 weeks late, carrying her backpack and looking like any other student. Her professor stopped mid-lecture when she entered. The entire class turned to stare. Everyone knew who she was. Her face had been on every news channel for weeks. But Hana just found an empty seat and sat down, pulling out her notebook. The professor cleared his throat. "Welcome back, Hana. We are glad you are safe." "Thank you, Professor. What did I miss?" The class laughed, and the tension broke. Life continued, but things had changed. Students who used to ignore her now gave her respectful nods in the hallway. Professors asked for her insights on predator behavior with genuine interest. The university installed a memorial plaque in the main hall, listing the names of all the students who had been on the attacked transport. Hana's name was at the top, marked with a star. One evening, Hana sat in her apartment, working on an assignment about evolutionary adaptation in hostile environments. Her communicator beeped. It was a message from Jiho, the security officer she had met in captivity. He had returned to his colony and his family. The message was simple. "Thank you for showing them what we really are." Hana smiled and sent back a brief reply. "We survived. That is what we do." She closed her communicator and returned to her work. The galaxy had changed its view of humanity, but Hana had not changed her view of herself. She was still just a student who wanted to learn about alien species. The fact that she had killed 13 of them in mortal combat was just an unfortunate necessity. Across the galaxy, in the Outer Rim territories, things were different now. Criminal organizations that had once preyed on any species they could catch now had new rules. Human ships were off limits. Human colonies were protected. The cost of touching a human was simply too high. On a salvage station near the former location of Corvin Prime, the asteroid had been abandoned after the Syndicate collapsed. A group of young aliens sat around a table. They were planning a raid on a cargo ship. One of them pulled up the ship's manifest on a datapad. "Wait," one of them said, pointing at the screen. "Look at the crew roster. There are 3 humans on board." The others leaned in to look. The mood in the room changed immediately. "Find a different target," the leader said. "I am not touching a ship with humans on it, but it is just 3 of them." One of the younger aliens protested. "We have 15 fighters. We can handle 3 humans." The leader pulled up a video file on the datapad. It showed Hana's final moments in the arena, standing over the dead Dravok, making her speech to the camera. The young aliens watched in silence. "That was 1 human," the leader said quietly. 1, unarmed, injured. And she killed 13 trained fighters, including a military-grade combat cyborg and a genetically engineered super predator. "Now, how many humans did you say are on that cargo ship?" 3, the young alien whispered. "Exactly. Find a different target. We are not going anywhere near that ship." The group quickly moved on to other potential targets, carefully checking each manifest for human crew members. It was the new reality of piracy in the Outer Rim. You could rob anyone you wanted as long as they were not human. Back on Earth, Hana finished her assignment and submitted it electronically. She checked the time. It was late. She should sleep. She had an early class tomorrow on interspecies communication. It was one of her favorite subjects. As she lay in bed, she thought about everything that had happened. The capture, the arena, The fights. The fear she had seen in the eyes of aliens who finally understood what humans really were. She did not feel proud of the killing. She felt tired, but she also felt something else. Hope. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans were not to be underestimated or victimized. That knowledge would protect other humans in the future. Maybe it would even prevent more kidnappings, more arena fights, more needless death. If her suffering and her fights had taught the galaxy that lesson, then maybe it had all been worth it. Hana closed her eyes and fell asleep, dreaming of peaceful things, of classrooms and books, of a future where humans could explore the galaxy without fear, of a universe where the phrase "by hour 1, she slaughtered 8" was just a story from the past, not a warning that still needed to be heeded. But across the galaxy, in dark corners and criminal hideouts, in military academies and government chambers, the warning was very much alive. The small human girl from Earth had changed everything. She had shown the galaxy what a Deathworlder could do when pushed too far. And the galaxy would never forget.